Sorry I was late. I was reminding myself how PS3s work. No, I'm kidding. I was late because I was writing all day and I ran out of time. But that's the best segue I have to not only welcoming you back to Tales of Praxis, but welcoming you back to a game which we had sadly shelved for not so sad reasons for a week and is therefore overdue for us to dig back into. Hello, my friends, thinkers, and gamers. Welcome. My name is Aaron Suduko. I'm the founder of withatterriblefate.com, your first and final source for everything to do with the literary study of video games. If you love games, if you want to dig into what makes them so valuable as stories that call us back again and again over the years and can actually teach us things about our lives, check out withatterriblefate.com. We've got every form of discourse you might want, everything from long-form written articles, to podcasts, to convention lectures, to streams, such as this adventure that we are on right now. Well, there you go. I outlated you, Grail. I did it just for you so that you could feel on time all the same. See, it's a collaborative effort of mutual support. That's what it all consists in. If you're not an old hat at the stream, as Grail is at this point, Tales of Praxis is a series that I've been running for With a Terrible Fate for the better part of a year at this point, if you can believe it. I can't, because I have schematized it in my head as a project that was shorter than my Xenoblade Chronicles work. And in many ways, I think it still is, depending on how you want to slice the apple, so to speak. But in terms of raw duration, it was a foregone conclusion that it would eventually outstrip everything that I'd done on Xenoblade Chronicles, and I think we're gradually eking into that territory. It's a series that is also celebrating JRPGs, but rather than Xenoblade Chronicles, it's celebrating a series of JRPGs that meant a lot to me and informed a lot of my views on gaming and storytelling and philosophy and just my passions to go on to pursue things such as philosophy when I was growing up. I'm talking, of course, about Bandai Namco's exceptional Tales JRPGs. And so the whole conceit of Tales of Praxis is to go back and explore and play or replay and analyze all of the Tales games, at least those which have had official localizations, maybe even all of them beyond that. And think about what it is that they're trying to say on their own terms, but also what the value is of putting them in conversation with one another. What does Tales of Phantasia say about Tales of the Abyss? How can Tales of Graces help us to better wrap our heads around Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn? And so on and so forth. We've had so much fun with that so far. We've had some glaring and pretty involved looks at particular Tales games on the stream as a kind of live book club adventure, and not so live for those who watch the VODs on YouTube, who are also part of the community and always welcome to join on Twitch. And I've offered some pretty far-reaching intertextual readings of different elements and characters and themes and thematic contents in the games in the form of long-form written articles, which are available on withatterriblefate.com. Everything from character study of Regal and Tales of Symphonia to analyzing the nature and call to action to act according to one's individual will as represented across the conversations of Tales of Destiny and Tales of Vesperia, with more on the way soon. I think it has to count as a mention, right? And that might be the quickest one because I was just doing it as setup, Grail. But not that it's quick by too much of a margin, since we always get around to it sooner rather than later. Yes, for those who are just joining the stream, also, you might know, as I alluded to, we've been working through Tales of Graces F, which will be our order of the day for this evening, and I'm so excited to be getting back into it. But you might call me J.K. Simmons because got a little bit of whiplash, and hopefully that's the worst dad joke that you'll have on offer tonight over jumping back into this after a week's marathon of the new DLC that we were blessed with by Bamco last week. I'm talking, of course, about Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn. As we're easing back into a different playthrough and different context, I'm going to be mindful that not everyone has been following along with Beyond the Dawn. It's brand spanking new. So while I'm sure I'm going to have a million thoughts and connections between what it is that we're working through with Tales of Graces and what we've been experiencing in Beyond the Dawn, which I've had such a great time with, I strongly recommend you check it out if you haven't. I am going to refrain and ask everyone else to refrain from Beyond the Dawn spoilers, just to be generous and kind to the other people on the stream. But may those other people on the stream play it. I think you'll be really happy if you did. If you've been following the Beyond the Dawn stream, you know also that we have left really the climax and resolution of it on the table because it was a longer DLC than was messaged and suggested ahead of time, which is great. I would not say it's longer in terms of filler. I would say it's longer in terms of substance. So if you're jonesing for the conclusion of that, the official plan, TM, is that we will be jumping back into it tomorrow evening and doing another 5-hour block. I'm not sure whether we'll use it all, but my hope is that that will wrap it up and give us plenty of time to discuss and think about it. So that'll be kicking off at 6 p.m. Eastern and rolling through to 11 if you want to be part of that. This will be back on our usual stream schedule, and no matter what happens with Beyond the Dawn, I'm going to make it the case that Tales of Graces doesn't get jostled out of its usual schedule. So still the same as ever, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll be kicking off at 7 p.m. Eastern, going to 10, and working through this other story, which I am going to kick off with, just easing us back into it with synopsis, because I think it's great to make use of these wonderful artistic representations of the story, allowing you to better keep track of it. We've talked before about how the Tales games do such a good job with rendering their summaries of story events in interesting ways. I think we've been to Tales of Graces before, but not in a while, and we haven't been to Tales of Graces period in a while, so it'll be good to ease back in and get situated. But you'll remember we left it at a pretty climactic moment, this confrontation between Richard and everyone else in Lant. Richard had been going a little bit of dark side, well, really for quite a while, ever since we ran into him in the adulthood arc, but especially after he was putatively killed by a soldier in Wallbridge, only to then just get up and get angry. And he's kind of been seething and even more visibly imbalanced ever since, you'll recall, to the point that we had that great anime scene in Lant when he came to basically lay waste to Lant and go after Strata and Hubert, Asbel's brother, that there was just this nondescript, threatening ooze emanating from him. So don't know what that's about. I mean, I do, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. It's fun to discover it as we go. I know some people who had not played it have theories already. But the other big thing that came out of that, of course, is that Sophie has at last recalled the memories of Sophie from childhood, which I do remember speculating before we switched gears from Tales of Graces to Beyond the Dawn, that this would perhaps open the door for new and perhaps healthier adult arc relationships between Asbel and Hubert and Cheria, who had become fractured in many ways and went their separate ways and retreated into themselves and their own defense mechanisms as a way of coping but not coping with the trauma of their past. Not dissimilar to what we were talking about with reference to Alphen yesterday. And that's the only kind of shout out I'm going to make, because that's in reference to the numbness of his character, which is part of the base game. So that's not a spoiler for anything with Beyond the Dawn. I think that's all I have to say, friends. I'm so excited to jump back in with you. Yes, Tales of Reminders, Grail. That's what we can call this stream. Relearning a very different system. I feel like 15 hours is hoofing it, though, Pottery. I mean, I know that I will be the first to admit that I take my time to consider and discuss things. I don't know that I call it digressions per se, but I take your point. But I've been trying to clock that too, just to keep an eye on the playtime overall. And I would still say we are in a healthy upward of 20-hour direction on the playthrough. That's my sense of it. So, but maybe you're just much more efficient than I am. I recognize that I'm slow sometimes in more ways than one. Yeah, that's right. It was Richard's Riz. One of the many new slang words that I've learned from you, Grail. I've learned so much about these Gen Zers on this stream. All right, let's load it up. Let's refresh our memories here and dig back in. And I welcome you again back to another face of Tales of Praxis. As with the Tales series itself, it has many faces. Oh, that might account for part of it as well, Pottery, because there definitely was at least one fight, the one that we chatted about yesterday, which I had to replay more than once, so I'm sure that did pad the playtime a bit. It does make me feel a little better, Grail. That doesn't surprise me, but I appreciate it. All right, let's do some synopsis. That's not where the synopsis is. I did remember we were alone with Asbel and Sophie, and I believe Sophie wanted to go to Lant Hill to reflect with Asbel now that she has her memories. Or youth Sophie's memories, as the case may be. I recall and will remind people there was a bit of a question that I was pointing out, but I think the game is also raising, that simply because she has the memories of Sophie from childhood back, is she necessarily exactly the same Sophie? So keep that in your hat too. All right, we can start here. Yeah, they're relatively quick. So this is going back to Richard's coronation after he stormed Barona Castle and took down his uncle Cedric, who you might remember was the one who usurped the throne from him and ousted him. Let's do some read-along. Richard's unit arrived first to the castle and were wiped out by an enemy ambush. Determined to settle things personally, Richard joined Asbel in defeating Archduke Cedric. Once again, Richard's hatred drove him into a display of wanton cruelty. Even his appearance changed, further raising Asbel's misgivings, which we talked a lot about on the stream a week ago. Nevertheless, peasants and nobles alike rejoiced at their new king and marked the occasion with a magnificent coronation. And that was crowning the new king. Then, what blood breeds? Eager to rid Windor of any Stratton influence, Richard decided to invade Lant. He commanded Asbel to lead the force, presenting it as an opportunity for Asbel to reclaim his honor and his lordship. Asbel appealed for a chance to avoid battle by convincing the Stratton commander, his brother Hubert, to negotiate with Windor. Alec joined Asbel's party to lend a hand, and together the group set off to Lant once again. And then finally, a 7-year reunion. How about that? Without waiting to hear the results of Asbel's negotiations, Richard launched a surprise invasion of Lant. Richard declared that those who defied him must be shown no mercy, and when Asbel forcefully disagreed, the furious king declared him a traitor. Having reclaimed her memories from 7 years earlier, so the synopsis at least is basically stipulating to the fact that Sophie is the same as she was in childhood, but there were some comments and questions about that which we can keep in mind. Sophie was able to block Richard's attack, and after a ferocious battle, Richard and his army withdrew. Victorious, Asbel and his friends relished their long-awaited reunion with Sophie. Which brought us up to speed. I think other things that are worth remembering in my mind, and guys feel free to shout out in the chat if there's anything that I'm overlooking. I remember it as significant, and you might recall that Hubert and Asbel basically teamed up to take on Richard in the face of Richard's attack on Lant, which was the first time they kind of bonded or collaborated in any meaningful way in the adult arc, which we've seen. And then, as I recall, I think basically Hubert and Cheria went back to tend to the people of Lant in the wake of the attack, and now Asbel is going off with Sophie to Lant Hill to reflect with her. I think that brings us up to current. Yeah, I'm with you, Grail. That's interesting, and something maybe to keep in mind in terms of points of comparison and contrast between Tales of Grail and Tales of Tales of Graces. Wow, all right, that's how we know we've been streaming too much. Tales of Grail. Or the games are just all about you, which is also fine. But as a point of comparison between Tales of Graces and Tales of Berseria, because remember, in Berseria, we talked a decent amount about how that game starts off also with an earlier kind of childhood sequence that's a little bit of a fairy tale feel. It feels as though Velvet is very innocent and in this isolated, happy farmland community, and then everything changes with the Advent, right? And the tonal shift is pretty stark, and speaking of whiplash, it's easy to get whiplash from that and feel as though you have to catch up with what it is that the game is wrestling with. I completely agree with you. I feel like something pretty similar is going on here in terms of just tonal dissonance between the way in which Richard behaves in the moments when things are not normal for him, and then the typical milieu of the game. I think between that and a lot of the musical riffs that we were calling out throughout the playthrough so far, the game is very good at doing little things just in terms of flourishes or changes in its representational style in order to give you just a gut sense of discomfort that not all is the way in which it ought to be. So we should definitely keep an eye on that going forward. Grails of Tastes. Gornal Faces. God. Call the Bondulance. Yeah, the thing that I'm immediately remembering, which I had in mind about Tales of Arise, even before we went back to it and Beyond the Dawn, was just it feels so much slower controlling the characters on the map when you don't have the sprint function of pushing the avatar hither and thither in Tales of Arise. You got the watermelon attachment. You can equip it in the status menu. Can I remember how the combat system works? Yeah, more or less.
What's our motto? Never give up!
All right. It's not like trying to work my head back into Tales of Zestiria or Berseria's combat system, at least, in which case I would probably feel proper useless about it.
I don't anticipate a challenge.
Okay, mow him down! Die! You won't mow him down! Mow him down! Die! That was hardly worth dirtying my blade.
I don't anticipate a challenge.
Okay, slash! Die! Slash! Mow him down!
Good.
That was hardly worth dirtying my blade.
Really bums me out a little. I'd forgotten that those enemies are just bears as opposed to egg bears. Talk about missed small opportunities. Where's the love for the egg bear? Well, it's hump day, fellas. While I'm working my way to Launt Hill, I'll also just ask everyone how their week is going, if they're playing anything interesting, thinking about anything interesting, working on any fun and rewarding projects. Can't believe it's already the middle of November. I hope you're gearing up for the end of the year. Doesn't feel like it here with the summer weather we've been getting in Colorado, but I'm hoping we'll get some snow at some point before December, and then maybe it'll feel a little more like the end of the year. It's almost the same Grail, but it's not as same as I want it to be. Yeah, it's close enough, though. I had forgotten about that. Oh, congratulations, Pottery. So does that mean we'll see you in like 100 hours or something? Since apparently the only way to play that game is to get inescapably sucked into it forever.
I don't anticipate a challenge.
I've only heard amazing things. That's part of why I'm reluctant to dig into it. Because I feel like if it is something that is as resonant with me as it is with everyone else, I feel like I will just vanish and never come up. Yeah, a while, that's fair. Oh, there were skits? Oh, at the save point here. Got it. Thank you, Grail. My conductor. Arrested Development.
I can't believe it's true. You really are
Stupid,
the same
forgetful Asbel.
But it is true.
Oh, I know. But there was a part of me that was sure I'd never see you again. It just makes me
It's so easy to forget.
happy.
Being able to remember you makes me happy too. But everyone has grown so big. And I'm still...
Uh-oh. She must be bothered that she hasn't developed at all in 7 years.
I think that would be my experience too, Pottery.
Don't
Yeah,
you worry,
I deeply
Sophie.
feel that.
Even if your height and such haven't grown, you're still the same old Sophie to us.
And such? What else is there?
Oh, sorry, nothing at all.
Other tonal shifts from Beyond the Dawn. Yeah, tell me how your experience is of learning and working your way into it since you don't have experiences with those other kinds of games, Pottery. I'm curious, since as I said, I would be in a similar situation if I ended up digging into it. Wow, that sounds big, Grail. What kind of RPG? How did this come about? Paint us a word picture.
This is where we met, isn't it?
Yeah. Actually, both times I met you, it was here.
What happened to me after I saved you? And what happened before I met you? Where was I? What was I doing? Thinking about it worries me. Maybe I can't remember because it's something I shouldn't remember.
Yeah, but you don't know for sure that your past was bad.
True.
Besides, what happened in the past isn't important. All that matters is right now.
Right now.
Yeah, I feel like that would be me too, Pottery. Love a game with homework, huh?
Let's go home. I don't want people to worry.
Okay.
I feel like that hits differently as I've gotten older too. I hadn't really been thinking about it before, so I don't think it's something that I mentioned on the stream, but of course there's this kind of fantasy and metaphysical idea that Sophie is in some way directly walled off from her memories or her past, but I think there's also a symbolic sense in which, especially as we get older, which is something that the game wants us to think about, right, with the time jump and everything like that, but even older than these kids, especially older than these kids, you simply can't remember or keep vivid track of everything that's happened in your past or things that seemed really significant at the time. And so it's more relatable to me than I suppose I expected going into it, this sentiment of Sophie's. Like, I feel like there's something that I should know from my past or something that played a big role in making me who I am, but I don't have access to it in the way that I want to, and that's really troubling to me. A big part of what something like psychotherapy purports to help people excavate, you know, I think that's the whole ethos behind that. Oh, that sounds really fun, Grail. I feel like it can be just such a wonderful way to grow and stimulate your creative muscles to force constraints upon yourself that you don't usually use. Actually, I forget what article this was that I was reading, but someone was giving an example of something in an aesthetics paper that I was reading for my current work about, I think it was a movie that tells the story of a filmmaker who kind of had one great, really well-received movie and then lost his creative spark. And the way in which he found his spark back was a friend of his challenged him to remake that one movie 5 different times with increasingly brutal and restrictive constraints on what it was that he could do as a director and the circumstances under which he had to shoot it. So I think there's a lot of merit to that kind of exercise and just pushing yourself beyond your boundaries and accessing things that are inside you but would otherwise be hard to excavate. Yeah, I feel you, Pottery. There can definitely be a certain kind of joy to that system's excavation. If it's rewarding and managed in the right way. I mean, not all systems created equal, as we've even seen on the stream, right? But I think there's definitely a certain kind of aesthetic satisfaction to find in that activity.
Hey, Asbel, do you think Richard will come back?
I don't know, but if he does, Lant will become a war zone again. I imagine the Findolian army is just waiting for a chance to strike.
Too many decisions. I feel that, though. I get that in games like Skyrim, too.
There'll be nothing I can do to stop it. I can't possibly protect Lant against such adversaries.
Stories are what they are because of their constraints, you know, like we were
Asbel,
just talking about.
Don't you like Lant anymore?
Of course I do. I just know now that conviction alone isn't enough.
So Lant will become a war zone?
No, everything will be okay.
Embrace chaos. See, I feel like depending on tone of voice, Pottery, that could be read as like an inspirational mentor figure in a JRPG or the final boss antagonist in a JRPG.
That was hardly worth dirtying my blade.
Yeah, superficial and samey. I mean, I recognize that there is certainly something that draws me to a game like Skyrim, because I would not say that I enjoy Skyrim. I don't like it. I don't think it's the kind of game that resonates with me, but also I sat down and put over 100 hours into it, right? So there's clearly something. But of the many criticisms that I think are sound and warranted for it, the one that I keep coming back to a lot, just in terms of like the frustrations of the time I spent in it, is just the sameness of so many of the dungeons and activities, coupled with, like I think you're saying, sort of the lack of felt narrative impact of that time spent. I think in some ways that's the perfect formula for just feeling like the game is almost like vampiring you, just sucking time and effort but giving nothing back for it, and then you kind of look up and 8 hours has passed and you're like, what was I just doing? That is one of my least favorite feelings in a game. Yeah, I think for me, so much of it just depends on being a mindful gamer, in the sense of taking time to reflect and play enough games to think about, like, how do these choice systems interact with the kind of meaning and like narrative and gameplay experience that I'm looking for? Because I think that's the kind of self-reflection that I think, maybe gamers are nowadays starting to do more, but I don't think it's a very natural way to get into the medium. But I think for me, it's, one of the most useful forms of self-reflection in terms of selecting the games that you're going to get the most out of, because like we've been saying, it can be good to push your comfort zone, but also I think like different people gel and resonate with different choice structures in a game, right? And some people have the disposition for it. Some people can decide to try on the disposition for it, like trying on an outfit, like you say, pottery, embracing chaos. But then, I don't know, like Mass Effect, with all of its choices, and like I recognize it is one of the most critically acclaimed and also controversial series of all time. I recognize that many people whom I respect have so much love for Mass Effect, but there's just something between the aesthetic of it and the nature of the choice structure that just makes it nearly inaccessible for me. Like every year or two, I'll find myself saying, man, maybe I should try to sit down and play Mass Effect, and I can just never will myself to actually do it. I think it's related to all the stuff that we're thinking about right now.
Thank you, Bailey.
Hey, Pink Moon Echo, welcome back, my friend.
Asbel.
Well, no, maybe not the same instantiation of it, pottery, but I think in both cases, I mean, the reason that I try to make the connection is because I think it's both, stances towards particular decision-making structures in games. Not the same attitude towards the same choice structures, but I think they're both offshoots of that.
What can I do to help? Nothing. We have everything under control. We'd be fools to depend on someone who vanished during our time of greatest need. If help is required, Hubert will no doubt provide it.
Wow.
Bailey doesn't understand.
He's probably talking about my decision to join the Knight Academy. And he's right. I was gone for 7 years. I abandoned my duty and thought only of myself. Maybe I should just leave Lawn for good.
You're going to leave again? I heard Hubert might be leaving too.
I would say that's definitely part of it too, Pink Moon Echo, not to belabor this conversation at the cost of the game, but I think for a lot of people, and again, I think the question further back is what kind of gamer are you in terms of what you want to get out of games, and what are the systems that are most amenable to that kind of experience. But I think for many people, part of what is really cool and fun about game stories is that they give you possibility structures and ways of exploring different choices and outcomes that are different than the kind of one-shot, million choices, who knows what the consequences are going to be experience that you get in real life. So it can be kind of rewarding and transformative and creative to go through this kind of fictional experience that's not just fantastical in terms of the kinds of worlds that are created character-wise and aesthetics-wise, but also in terms of your decision-making relationship to it. I think that's part of it for me when I think about a game where there are just so many choices and it's not clear what's going to come from it. It almost feels too much like life and not enough like the kinds of games that I like to play in terms of being able to go through and try out different choice structures. Like if I'm going to play a game like that, the kind that I like is something like Deus Ex. I had so much fun in those games being able to just, load a save state and explore different branches of outcomes and decide how to kind of, contour the decisions I was making to the kind of playthrough that I want, which is kind of antithetical to life in some ways, right? So I think that's part of it for me. Very interpersonal, definitely. I think they're one of the most interpersonal media out there.
What are you talking about?
I overheard one of the soldiers. Apparently, Strata is displeased with the way Hubert is handling things here. I think they're going to recall him.
Recall him? What's Hubert going to do about it?
I don't know.
If Hubert leaves, what will happen to Lant? I have to go see my brother.
Asbel, are we all going to be separated again? No, I can't let that happen.
Everyone was so intent on staying walled off, and then the minute the walls start to come down, they're at risk of losing each other again, and can't stand to imagine that. You're fine, all right? It's just a flesh wound. Is Lant safe? Is everyone okay? Awesome, thank you, Grail. Are you all right? Come on, Hubert needs you. Asbel, is Hubert in some sort of trouble? It's too late for me. Oh, what kind of wound is that? Just put a little spit on it. It'll heal right up. It's just a flesh wound. Hubert's being recalled? What's going to happen to him? We should get over there and see what's up. Those poor fountains. They really were the unsung casualty of that conflict with Richard. Oh, a star? What the heck? You wanted to see me? I'm quite busy at the moment, so please make it quick. Hubert, I know how angry you must be at your father and I. I'm not angry. It's because of you two that I was able to achieve my current position. Then what about Asbel? Can't you find a way to forgive him as well? He had no idea that you were being sent to Strata to become an Oswell. After he found out, he was furious. 7 years and things haven't changed a bit. You've always favored him over me because he's the firstborn son. No, Hubert, I tried my best to raise you as equals. As equals? So when you decided to send one of us away, I assume that was a long and sober discussion? I can just see the two of you spending long, agonizing nights choosing which son to sacrifice. No, Mother, the facts are simple. I was expendable, and Asbel was not. Hubert, please. Your father and I did this for you. The reason he sent you away is because... This is a pointless conversation. Hubert, wait. Do not bother me with such matters again. Ooh, I think there was more to the reason behind Hubert being sent away. I'm interested. The common currency of all worlds and families and everything in between in these games. Zoogle parts. He's just really good at hunting big game. He makes great hoodle pancakes. We talked to this dog already? Alright. Is his mother gonna say anything else? Hubert. Interesting structure for a side quest, having a kind of magic realist icon on the map, or non-diegetic icon, as you prefer, to get a window into a perspective that's outside the main parties. I think we're meant to understand that Asbel didn't see that, but we got a little window into it. Hubert's desk. It's just like I remember it. Alright, downstairs. Padre's still licking his wounds. Shut the fuck up, dude. We got so much mileage out of so many of the subquests on Beyond the Dawn. One of the many reasons that you should all play it. Now, maybe the base game is another story, but we beat that story to death last night, so let's let it rest for a minute. I like that about the game too, Pink Moon Echo, and I like it because, you know, we're getting into a nice area for that in the story right now, because everyone built up so many reasons to resent each other and try to create those walls and distance between each other, like I said. But now, kind of as they're just opening up and becoming more willing to bear witness to each other, we're seeing those bonds that were always there kind of just reconstitute and flourish again between these characters. Slowly, but I think it speaks beautifully to your point. Just because it's the same process in all of them. Yeah, like you were saying, it's always just Zoogle parts or conversations.
Who told you that? Anyway, yes, I've been recalled. The order was signed by the president, so I don't have a lot of wiggle room.
I take your point. You also know, as with the 4 lights in the base game, there are some pretty cool exceptions to that in terms of some of the special fights and some of the subquests.
I guess Strahda's not happy with how things are going. What does that mean for your return there?
I'll likely be stripped of my title and never set foot here again.
Did you go against their plans for Lant's sake?
It's foolish to sacrifice future stability for immediate profits.
Rare. Another word for that, I would say, is punctuated, if we're thinking that the normal mode of engagement is relatively flat and the others are highlighted in some particular way, which I think might be part of what it's up to, but I'm still thinking about it since we're not done with it.
Even a common soldier such as myself can see that.
But certainly less frequent.
I want you to stay.
I'm with you there.
You've meant a great deal to Lant. I can see that clearly enough. You have the ability to think ahead and guide our people to a more prosperous future. I don't have the talent for that kind of thing. You're the only one who can protect Lant now. Hubert, please.
Surprising words coming from the Lord of Lant. Even if in name only. You don't mind your lands being ruled by a stranger?
You're not a stranger. You're my brother.
What?
I believe you will always act in the best interests of Lant. So all I can do now is help you.
If only there was more time.
What would you do with more time?
I can't solve all of Lant's problems, but I could fix quite a few. At the very least, I'd like to strengthen our defenses and make plans for an orderly transition of power.
Then I'll go to Strahda instead. I'll tell them how much you mean to both countries. I don't know if I can stop your recall, but I should be able to buy some time.
Do you realize what you're saying? There will be no way to guarantee your safety.
If it helps you, I'm willing to risk it.
Why are you doing this?
Because it's a way for me to protect Lant.
I'll write a letter to the president. Bring it to the presidential palace in the capital city of Hubert.
Hubert,
So
that's a
you're
cool
accepting
name.
my proposal.
And be careful around Mr. Oswell. Don't ask for his help, no matter what.
Isn't he your adopted father?
He is, first and foremost, a businessman with considerable influence in Stratton politics. The plan to station troops here was almost entirely his idea.
I see. You're in a tough position, Hubert, and yet you're still doing your best for Lant. Thank you.
The way in which Asbel is now like reaching out to and speaking up for his brother, and the way Cheria was hoping they wouldn't get separated again. I was just thinking, like, part of what's interesting, I think, if you want to read it this way, is these kids who are childhood friends, now they have kind of these twin poles of like a warning at the potential of what losing each other might look like, and also a beacon of hope for what reclaiming those bonds might look like. The former being Richard, who feels so isolated and went mad shouting that everyone betrayed him and just seemingly pushed himself into darkness and lashed out and became monstrous and othered and an enemy. And then the latter, I say latter here? I meant former. And the other one being Sophie regaining her memories from childhood and showing that even if you think something is buried, even if you think it's too late, even if you think you're literally a different person, you can still find your way back if you want to. So, danger, but hope for something better.
All right, get going. That letter won't deliver itself.
Okay, I'm off.
We still control the port that lets you access Strata's mainland. You can get there through the west gate.
Letter to the President, El Presidente, as they would call him in Tales of Symphonia. A personal letter from Hubert to the President of Strata, vouching for Asbel. Brother's Keeper, I love it. Did you miss titles during our Beyond the Dawn stream? They're back. Ever since the day they were separated, he never stopped worrying about his younger brother. All right, to Strata we go.
I hope Asbel and Hubert aren't fighting.
Sir, may I come in?
Oh, really? That would be interesting, Grail. I wouldn't put it past a game like this, certainly.
What is the meaning of this, Lieutenant?
I have entrusted Asbel Lant with a letter for our president. If the order is rescinded, I will remain here. If that is not to be, then at least I'll leave someone behind to continue what I've started.
Am I to understand you won't be choosing me as your replacement?
Interpret things as you will.
Your actions will lead to great losses for the Oswell family.
Hey, Arcade Toasty, welcome. Yes, definitely a strong connection with his homeland, even after being away from it for so long. I love that question, and I'm sure I will be thinking about it for many streams to come, Padre. So yes, I'm interested in what everyone thinks of it. I think it would be a really interesting thing to peel back in a more particularist way in terms of, okay, given each game and how they apply their title systems to characters, what might that game in particular be trying to express through it? But I think at first blush, I think about that distinction in system and representation, and I think of it almost like Wittgenstein in his later work in the philosophical investigations. He talks about names for things as basically name tags, preparing them to be used in certain situations according to particular language games, with the whole thought in the background being that for a long time, philosophers of language and people who thought about that stuff thought there was some kind of just essentialist relation between like a word as a name and whatever it was that it referred to, this kind of metaphysical realism about that. And he said, no, there's not really any deep truth to that, counters later Wittgenstein. It's really just various ways of introducing things into language games to put them to particular uses. And so in a game where we just assign a given title out of a repository of titles for characters in a particular moment, I almost think of it as that kind of preparation for use, like showing a certain aspect of them and casting the character in a certain light such that they can engage the world and the story and each other in a certain way. Think of it as the different context, you would get if you were, what's a good example? Like if you were, like if your mom was also a teacher at your school, right? Like the different context between seeing her as like your parent and engaging with her on those terms versus like seeing her in school in the, teaching milieu and engaging with her there, right? Different faces of the same person like that. Whereas I'll say this about Tales of Arise, it does not surprise me that without any spoilers for Beyond the Dawn, like we were talking about, there are some pretty direct new representations of what it means for there to be an essence of the character, something that is more intrinsic and hypostatized than you would get in like the kind of use-based perspective on language. And so for all of their titles to just kind of be always active and of a par with one another makes me think that there's less of that focus on use and more of just like these are all ever-present and always relevant aspects of the character as they're engaging and going through the world and relating to each other. So that would be my first pass thought on it. Yeah, that would be very cool. Actually, I had a somewhat related thought to that earlier today. It's not directly a title thought, but I was going around thinking about similar things in some of the other work I'm doing. And I smiled thinking at how cool it would also be to get a title where there's some kind of like radical change or evolution in a character over the course of a game. This doesn't have to be a Tales game, but I think Tales would be good at it, so that like at some point in their life when something changes and they adopt a different role, they like completely change their fighting style and way of engaging with the world. Like imagine, someone who starts out the game as a kid and a swordsman or something, and then because of some like traumatic life event or something that changes their perspective on the world, they decide to put in a lot of study and just become a mage or something like that, right? I feel like in the same way that you're talking about with how flexible a storytelling tool titles are and some of the various flourishes they've done with that over the years in terms of like someone being joke given a title or someone rejecting a title and some of the stuff that we were talking about a few days ago, right? You could do something similar in terms of the way in which the character relates to the world through fighting style or role in the party, things like that.
My duty is to Strata. All other considerations are secondary.
No, it's a replay, Toasty. But we're treating it as a first time book club read through for everyone. So we're avoiding spoilers for the game and not talking about anything that hasn't come up in the story yet, if that's why you were asking. Oh, really? I didn't know that about Vesperia. It's very of a piece with the rest of my reading of Vesperia, though, so that is very satisfying to me. How does it... Yeah, can you give me more details on that without, spoiling things too much for people who haven't played it? Because that just makes me want to go back and play it again.
I am simply acting in my country's best interest.
Yeah, and I imagine that's probably why they haven't considered things like that, Grail, the idea that it would mess with just the overall gameplay experience. But I feel like, again, a series like Tales, I feel like they could figure out a way to make it fun. I don't know.
Or do you think the prosperity of the Oswell family should take precedence, Cousin Raymond?
Oh, that's very cool. Well, there you go. So it's already in their design language. I just didn't realize it. Leave it to you to fish out a Vesperia reference from me without my even realizing it, right? I'm starting to think there might be something to this game and this series.
My uncle would be saddened to hear you speak such things. It's like taking in a stray dog only to have it bite you.
You can say whatever you like. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have business to attend to.
I think it was a collaborative effort, Pottery. We're both responsible for that in some way.
Does that mean Asbel left already?
Damn him! Damn that upstart brat! Finally I get a chance to take charge of Lance, and he pulls this! What was my uncle thinking when he adopted him? I'm the one who's working for the good of the Oswells! I must stop that letter from reaching Strata.
Oh no, I have to warn Asbel.
You there! What are you doing?
What? Who's there?
Uh-oh.
You. Were you listening at the door?
I'm right there with you, Pottery. I think those are tremendously interesting questions to ask. And you can think about it, again, like one of the reasons that I talk about the particularist approach to thinking about what is each game trying to say with it, or even, you know, how might it make sense to read each character according to this, is take your example, right? Because I love that example. You could imagine something like that saying anything between it's showing that, you know, as a swordsman, he's more interested in kind of a focused, smaller number of strikes because, you know, 20 is so many fewer than 100. And so you might imagine a different strategy or tactic or approach to battle goes into that. You might also imagine, because it's one that you're going to unlock first in the story and that requires less skill, it's something more in line with that beginner's mind concept that we talked about when we kicked off Tales of Graces, saying he's, you know, emphasizing always being a student and thinking that there's always more to learn, even when he's expert beyond the limits of that title. And those are just two examples off the top of my head. I'm sure you could color that in a range of different really cool ways, which would also just open the door to, you know, you could have more permutations of that and different layers of meaning as the game goes on, right? Because the meaning that inheres to a title when you first get it could then be totally either subverted or just transformed according to, you know, the context in which it's situated once the game has progressed more and the character has different titles and just a different perspective on what that particular attribute of his or her personality consists in.
No, I was just, Ow! Let me go!
She's one of Asbel Lance's friends. If I were to use her... You won't win so easily this time, Hubert.
Especially in comparison with the other Tales games, this is something that was not on my mind going into this, but certain aspects of the tropes and just scene language of Tales of Graces is reminding me of Shakespeare a little bit, between like the scheming uncle plots and the intrigue of trying to get letters to certain places and who finds out about them and who's eavesdropping on which conversations. Like, it seems like the sort of plot you would see in, you know, Hamlet or Macbeth or one of those. In a great way. I love that, to be clear. One of my first theatrical productions in high school was, I was Banquo in Macbeth, as it happens. Yeah, who would have guessed, right, Pottery? I was actually thinking, you have to really want to see it, But I'm me, so of course I do. He looks a little bit like Jade to me, too.
There you are. Good. I have a favor to ask. Will you come to Strata with me? I'm going to ask the President to rescind Hubert's recall order. Honestly, it could be dangerous. I don't know how the President will respond.
Yeah, Jade's wimpy cousin. I love that. Yeah, character-based, and also, like, I think for me, probably part of what's surfacing this tone is, like, the particular interrelationship of individual character study and political intrigue and family drama. Like, the way in which those three things are triangulated, I think, is probably what I'm grasping towards as something that's somewhat Shakespearean in tone. It feels different than the way in which it evolves in a lot of the other games. In the darkness, aren't we all, Jade? It's the glasses, too. The glasses help.
But I need your help.
But
So
yes,
please
point
come
taken.
with me.
I'll come.
Thanks, Sophie.
I'll come as well. I've hardly done anything to repay my debt to you yet.
Rokuro wants to know your location.
I'm totally coming. I've never been to Strata.
Thanks, you two. Has anyone seen Cheria?
How could you not have that thought right after a Tales of Berseria playthrough?
She bolted off a little while ago. Looked kind of nervousy, too.
Perhaps I can be of some assistance. Cheria Barnes is currently under my care.
Pay no attention to the ominous piano line. I'm sure it's fine.
What does that mean?
She was caught eavesdropping on military secrets. The punishment for this crime is severe.
Yeah, come on, look at that face. You don't even have to want to see it that much. There's some Jade resemblance there. I stand by that.
I might be convinced to grant her a pardon, but there will be conditions.
Much wimpier than the Necromancer, but they could be, yeah, cousins or
In
something.
exchange for your friend's safety, you will abandon your mission to Strata.
Hey, you just totally took her hostage.
Almost definitely.
I won't let you hurt Cheria.
Now, I wouldn't attack me if I were you.
That's actually an interesting thought, Grail. Like, I mean, based on what we've seen of Raymond so far, I don't have the confidence that he would be this sophisticated in his scheming, but, like, was he talking loudly in order to be overheard? Like, was he suspicious that Cheria was around so that then he could, like, have pretense and reason for holding her? Based on the way in which he discovered her and kind of seemed to be figuring out what he was going to do on the fly. I don't really think that holds water, but I think it's an interesting thought pattern to be engaging with in this kind of game with, as I said, the political intrigue of it all.
Assuming, that is, that you care at all for your friend's life.
Damn you.
Give me the letter. Do it quickly before I have the girl devoured by monsters.
Super normal thing for someone in a state military to say.
Oh, cousin. To think that you would stoop so low.
Lieutenant!
You will tell me where Cheria is, and you will do it now. If not, I will file a report for home detailing your clumsy attempt at blackmail. And that's not all. I will also inform them that you attempted to steal an official letter from a superior officer. Whatever you do, please decide quickly.
You leave me no choice! Ugh!
Raymond! You damn fool! I'll take care of Raymond. Go find Cheria. Hurry!
Damn it. Cheria, where did they take you?
Do I know where Cheria is? No, I haven't seen her. Grander decisions in royal families have been made on the basis of less than that, haven't they? It is a very pleasing aesthetic. Sudoku comes up in more than one Tales game. Why is everyone freaking out about now? Some Stratton soldier came tearing through here. Oh, which way did he go? He crossed the bridge and booked it west. All right.
Hubert just told me not to trust his own adopted father, Mr. Oswell.
He kept dying it, and it
Oswald
kept
is
coming
his
in
adopted
blue.
Father?
You know him?
Only by reputation. If you travel to Strata, dealing with him won't be easy.
Hubert must be harboring all kinds of difficult feelings about Mr. Oswell. And that's why I want to help him.
Guys, nobody cares about any of this. Find Cheria already.
She's blunt, but right. However, we've little information to go on.
Raymond won't be any help in his condition. Maybe someone in town knows more.
No one cares about any of this.
Look, it's a Sopharia. It's withered.
I think it's been pressed. It looks quite old.
Pressed?
When people want to save important flowers, they press them between pieces of paper to dry them out.
Could it be? I bet this belongs to Cheria. That means she must be up ahead somewhere.
She always cherished their past. Is it my name? Are we riffing on my name without without actually riffing on it? Or did it remind you of something else more substantive? A pressed Sopharia flower found at the gate to West Lot Road. A group of Stratton soldiers went off to the West Port carrying something. A person-shaped box! What could be in it? Thank you, Graham. Oh, I'm so glad I could do that for you, Pottery. I will confess, it did that for me too, because I had felt like I didn't quite understand that scene in terms of what a second counted as. So I did research to figure out for myself what it meant, and that really helped me to appreciate what that whole sequence meant in terms of Yuri's development as I saw it. So yeah, I'm so glad I could shed light on that for you too. Mission accomplished.
That pressed flower we picked up in Launt is a Sopharia.
That sounds like your name. Is it a coincidence?
No, it's not. I was named after this flower.
I see.
Asbel, Hubert, and Cheria gave me my name. Back when they were kids. It's very important to me.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I had never heard that,
Take
Potter.
good care of both the name and the flower.
It was one of those things I'd never really even stopped and thought about. Like, I assumed it would be a second, almost like similar to a second in a duel, like there for moral support or to bear witness or something, which is also not right as it turned out. But that was part of what got me into thinking about it. Like, I don't think my colloquial understanding of this fits quite correctly. Following that intuition can lead you to some interesting places more often than not. Yeah, isn't it funny how we can end up with these kind of assumptions where we don't even know where they're sourced from? Well, that's like what I was saying before about Sophie, right? Things kicking around in our past that just become opaque to us over time.
Yes, I will, Captain. I don't anticipate counter.
Roll him down! Roll him down!
No! We did it, Sophie! And she's gone.
She sensed danger and fled.
Haha. I hadn't processed how much I missed these post-battle conversations going back into Tales of Arise, which I love, but it's so sad not to have those there.
Stay sharp, even against chumps.
Yeah, 100%, right? A total reconfiguration of, let's say, similar but different other acts that he undertakes earlier in the story. Yeah. I mean, I think I said this at the time when I was writing it, but that was one of the parts of that piece that really snuck up on me and that I felt like I was discovering in a fun way, because like everything that happens in that sequence with the dawn, of course it's a key centerpiece of the story, but I don't think I had consciously processed how many different threads and how many different character journeys it really unifies and redirects. Like it really is, in many senses, I would say, the fulcrum upon which like a lot of the story turns. So it was nice to be able to go back and pick that apart. What a touching scene. I thought it said there was a discovery point. I guess that was just for the gel seeds. I hear Lieutenant Oswald was actually born in Lant. No wonder he's so kind to these people. There's kin!
Stay sharp. Give it against the
You won't live till no one can stand before my blade! This won't take long. Strike! Roar!
right into next week.
I've traveled back in time to
I feel like I heard that somewhere before. Where would I have heard that? The way she just waits and then points and gestures and then looks at Malik again really makes that one for me. Yep. Same brain. Give me back my brain, Pottery. I need it for the stream right now. Can have it after.
Escape and warn everyone. Come on, just a little more. Yes, got it. It's locked. Let me out! Somebody open this door!
She'd grown really strong in the years since her sickness, except when it came to breaking down wooden doors. Yeah, it does add a whole different kind of texture to the game, no doubt about that.
Cheria!
No, she has much less facility with walls.
Can't be screwing around this time!
Slow him down! Die! There!
Oh, I think I'd been trying out Malik the last time he was in the party, and I was enjoying that. I might switch back to him after this. Oh, there's a boar enemy, and we can't call on Kisara to help us. Sad.
Rip to pieces! Stampede! Let's keep moving.
Boy, oh boy, that was really close.
Cheria, are you okay?
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
How could you have been so stupid?
No, I didn't mean... Things just
Things
happened.
just happened? If we had been a minute later, then you would have been killed.
Yeah, good catch,
I
Pottery.
wasn't
That is
trying
interesting.
to be captured, Asbel. And you don't even know what happened, so stop yelling at me.
Whoa, hey there, kids. Now calm down. Everything's just fine, isn't it?
No, it isn't. Do you know how worried I was?
You were worried? Oh, that's rich. Look, all this happened because I was trying to save you.
You know, you've been treating me like crap ever since I came back here.
Well, that's your fault. In fact, all this is your fault. 7 years ago, you walked out of my life. You never came back. I didn't know if I'd ever see you again.
Ah, the heart of it.
I missed you. Damn it. I missed you so much. I wanted to come see you, but I was worried you wouldn't want me there. So I didn't.
Sorry. I felt like I couldn't come back till I was a knight.
Aw, they're so close they make me jealous.
Indeed.
Both of you just shut up. Asbel's nothing but a big jerk, and I don't care about him at all.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
There we go. That's the Cheria I remember.
And what exactly is that supposed to mean? Take it easy, Cheria.
It just means that it's time for you to relax a little.
I'm really glad that you're the same girl I used to know. And I'm also really glad that, well, I mean, I'm just glad that you're safe.
Pascal.
Is your fight over?
Our fight? Yeah, it's over. We're good now. Isn't that right, Cheria?
Huh? Yes. It's all over.
So, are you friends?
Yes.
Good then. Make a friendship pact.
Oh, man. My heart. My little heart can't take it. Yeah, that is interesting, Pottery.
Ah, young love, ain't it wonderful?
Enough of your jokes, Pascal. Well, we should start heading back. We need to report our success.
Right.
Okay.
I feel like you have to really go out of your way not to like any of these characters. They're such thoughtful and rich studies, all of them. Yes, I loved so much about that scene, as I think we all did based on the comments. One thing that I thought was really cool, because we've been talking about the music and how rich and thoughtful it is. Did you notice, did it sound different to you when there was silence during that scene, as Cheria was confessing finally the heart of it, just that she missed Asbel so much and had felt abandoned by him to the point that she wanted to see him and yet felt totally inhibited from doing so? I think, to me, it's one of the grandest testaments to how thoughtful this game is with the overall gestalt of its direction, to use your word, Pottery, and I think it does have really great direction, is that you can hear the silence in scenes like that because they're always so self-conscious about how they're scoring things that it really hits home when there's just a moment of clarity and insight that demands that kind of attention without a score.
Did anything bad happen to you?
It's good of you to worry, Sophie, but no, I'm fine.
We all worked together to track you down.
I know, and I really appreciate it. Oh, but Asbel, I have to tell you, it was Raymond who...
Don't worry about him. Hubert took care of it.
Hubert? Wow, so even Hubert helped out.
Come on, let's get back to Lant.
Somehow, little by little, it's like we're going back to the old days.
Cheria, you must be glad. You have your happy face on.
No.
Yes, it's my happiest.
I guess maybe when you put it that way, it's not surprising, but I'm also uplifted because I think that's one of the things that close reading of the sort that we do here can be great for, because when you just examine and reflect on them outside sort of the stereotyping of those tropes and sort of the comments that alienate the concept of the character from all of the particulars of how you actually see her in the game, it can be a great panacea and preventative for avoiding those sorts of generalizations or preemptive cynical judgments. All right, back we go. Oh, but I was going to go back to Malik for a bit. Yes, yes, yes. Wait, Grail, are you saying that we're sane because we like Tails unconditionally? We're insane or sane? I don't know the right way to parse your comment.
We are very sad to announce Isabel.
Not bad, don't you think?
I don't know if I'm willing to agree with that. There are many reasons that we're all nuts, I'm sure, but I think the reason that what we're doing is so fun and valuable is that there's so much to recommend these games to everyone if only you sit down and engage with them and think about what it is that they're really trying to say and express. I wouldn't say I like them unconditionally. I think, if there were one that I played where I really felt let down or as if it had nothing to express, especially in the context of Tales of Praxis, I would not try to spin that. Like, I would be honest with you all about it. But I think the reason that I'm willing to go in with such trust to all the games is just that I have not been let down in that way during any of my revisits. Even and especially with those where I had felt let down in the first instance when I played them in my past. Yeah, see, I'm with you, Pottery. It's like, it might be easy from the outside to mistake the way we're engaging with them for unconditional love, just because we clearly love them very much. But I think, step back and look at the broader context of this Tales of Praxis series, right? What are we doing? Like, every time we stream and hang out together, we're sitting down and taking hours out of our days and weeks to critically put basically every aspect of these games under the microscope and take them to task and interrogate what's going on here and what is the value and import of this, right? I think in some ways, like, seen in that light, it's almost the opposite of unconditional love. It's like, it's a beautiful kind of love in the sense that it is a like fully rewarded and radically analytical love. Yes, maybe there are some kind of unconditioned loves in the world, like, depending on how you think about romantic love or spiritual love, mystic love of the kind that I think about at the end of my meditation on Tales of the Abyss. But I think, by and large, especially with the things you're passionate about, critical inquiry and engagement with them is only going to help you to better understand why it is that you love them, right? And if you're worried about the inquiry, like, talking you out of the love or interest or passion about the thing, there's probably a much more substantial underlying problem with your relationship with it lurking in the background. Absolutely, and I think it's something that we come by honestly in a hard-fought and hard-won way to say that we love this series. It's not something that any of us says lightly. I'm sure we can all agree. The guest chambers are on this side.
Cheria, I'm glad you're safe. This would not have happened if I had monitored my subordinates more closely. I apologize.
Well, it's over now, so there's no need to worry. That's a terrible wound.
His plan was coming undone, and so he stabbed himself. It was incredibly foolish.
You'll be all right. I'll take care of you.
You...
You should be fine now. Just make sure to get lots of rest.
I treated you poorly. Why are you doing this?
Let's agree to forget all that, all right?
Thank you.
And the next time you feel like doing something crazy, stop and think about it.
I will.
Come on, let's get to Strata and deliver that letter. Cheria, are you coming?
Yes, of course.
All right, kids, let's get walking.
Wait, please. Take this. I meant to give it to you earlier, but things got hectic.
What's this bag?
It's nothing really. It's just a good luck charm. Anyway, if you're going to go, you'd best get moving.
You got it. Farewell.
Thank you, Grail. Let's catch that on the way out.
And be careful.
Oh. So much love going around in this adventure of ours. Good luck charm. A charm received from Hubert. There's something inside it. But it won't tell us just yet. Lucky!
What's on your mind, Asbel?
I got this good luck charm from Hubert, and I'm trying to figure out what he meant by it.
Maybe it's just his own way of worrying.
How so?
I'm sure he remembers heading to Strata 7 years ago, alone and scared. He probably can't help but think of you making the same trip.
Even after all that time. Cheria, we have to save him.
Yes, we will.
Eat, feast, and enjoy, Pink Moon Neko. It's so great to see you. We'll be around through the usual schedule later if you want to drop by again. And if not, hope to see you tomorrow for wrapping up Beyond the Dawn, which should be very fun. Always a pleasure, my friend. I think that a more cynical and superficial read of the adventure we just went through to rescue Cheria would complain that it just felt like a distraction or something to pad the playtime because we were off to deliver this letter and then there was this weird little sidetrack and now we're back to deliver the letter. But I'll tell you, I really love it because I think it's such a... I mean, A, that scene with Cheria was great, but B, I think one of the reasons that that scene was great and the context it affects is this idea that in many ways, similar to what Hubert just did in extending that good luck charm to Asbel and, according to the party in that skit, kind of projecting his own journey to Strata in the past onto what it is that they're doing now, that sequence of going to rescue Cheria also strikes me very much as a kind of rectification or attempt to redress the past that, if you remember, Cheria always felt so on the outside of the group, and Asbel took her to task as a kid for feeling like she could replace other people, and that was the last thing that he said to her before he left Lant. And now in that kidnapping sequence, he went out of his way to uniquely and specifically stick up for her and go after her and see her on her own terms, to the point that he was taking her to task not for trying to replace anyone else, but for putting herself in danger because there's only one of her and she cannot be replaced. So I love that as a way of just opening the door to new and positive relationships between these childhood friends in the way that I was talking about before. This thought that by going back to the past and helping to shore up some of that pain, it's not as if everything will be literally as it was before. So of course Cheria's hope for that, I think, will ultimately prove itself to be misguided, but the ability to kind of access positive memories and associations from the past gives them a model for building something new with each other that is positive and productive rather than defensive and deleterious.
You're very sad to announce. This will be a Why the pigtails, Sophie? Pigtails? Your hair, those.
Oh, thank you. I totally forgot.
The captain said they'd let me fly through the air. Oh, I get it.
At least we're not the only ones who's trying to understand the utility of Sophie's pigtails. Alright, so the inn is up here, I think, right? Yes, maybe? No. Ah! Another star. Makes me feel like we've stumbled into a Mario game or something. Very outside the typical representational language for these games. What's wrong, Sophie? Is this a flower bed just like the one at Asbel's house? Oh, that's right. Thank you, Grail. Well, I'm glad we found this too. So much the better. 2 birds, 1 stone, so on. Yes, but it hasn't been used in a long time. I see. Why don't you use it, Sophie? That's a great idea. You could plant seeds here just like you did with the Sopharias. Is it really okay? Of course. Do whatever you like with it. Alright, I'll give it a try. You know what? You should use this to plant flower seeds from all around the world. All around the world? Yes, that would be a lot more fun than just planting local flowers, wouldn't it? She has a point, Sophie. Okay, I'll do that. Whenever you find a new seed, you can plant it here. Before long, you'll have the loveliest garden ever. I'll do my best. So can we add things? I love that idea. I don't know if that's something I did back in the day during my first playthrough. Let's plant these night lily seeds. That should do it, right? And canola seeds. I hear they use these to make oil. I think I have canola oil kicking around in my pantry. As it happens. Alright. Excited to watch those come in as we go back and forth to Lant on different occasions. Good afternoon, Lord Asbel. Would you like to rest? Anonymous letter! Alright. I came to Lant to see you, but you were gone. So I wrote a letter and hid it in the place where we swore a friendship pact as children. Richard! Wow, yeah, we definitely don't want to miss that. We're off to Lant Hill then. Wow. A little missable side letter from someone as central to the motions of the plot as Richard. That's fascinating. Yeah, and I remember Grail noted when we started learning about Malik's backstory that was borne out in side quest content, and we had something similar going on, or we have so far, so there's no reason to suppose it'll change course in terms of Pascal acquiring glyphs, that is, summon spirit equivalents. So very, very interested in continuing to uncover this particular game's perspective on optional content. Seems to be making some pretty interesting and challenging and unusual choices in terms of what's delegated to the optional dimension. Mamma mia! I'll stop. Better be glad my friend Matt isn't visiting again yet, because he's a huge Mario man. He'd be riffing on this more than I. Hey look, a letter. I wonder who wrote it. Huh? It's addressed to me. Is it from someone in Lant? It doesn't say who it's from. Are you going to read it? I don't know if I should. It's addressed to you, yeah? So then what's the big deal? Alright, let's see what it says. Dear Asbel, how long has it been since we last saw each other? When I hear of your exploits at the Night Academy, I'm struck by a desire to see you. Recently, I even snuck down there to pay you a visit. Unfortunately, you were already gone when I arrived. I asked after you, but was told that you wouldn't be returning for some time. Thinking that you might have returned home, I immediately left for Lant, but you weren't to be found here either. So I decided the best course of action was to write you this letter. I figured that if I post a request at the manor, you'd be the likeliest man to find it. I hope I'm right. Things at home are as messy as ever, so this may be the last letter I'm able to send. I would very much like to see you again, but I know your life is busy, and I don't want to trouble you. Take care, and know that I treasure our friendship above all else. Look at the date. It's more than a year old. Sounds like the writer was in quite a fix. Do you think it was written by... There's only one person who would think to hide a letter here. He must have been seeking my help. Asbel? Let's come here again, the three of us. Yeah, and then we can stand under this tree and make another friendship pact. That's not it, Asbel. Richard wasn't seeking your help. He just wanted to see you again. Even if it meant putting his life in danger by leaving the castle. You okay, Cheria? Yes, I'm fine. I know, because I was the same way. Wow. So an optional window into the past and the pain of Richard, which is latent, surely, but also nestled outside the scope of both the childhood arc and the adulthood arc. Wow, I'm definitely glad that we made the effort not to miss that. I think this game also has a beautiful way of expressing simple truths. Like, that was my feeling in that scene with Cheria after she was rescued, when she finally confessed just, I missed you, Asbel. That's what it was all about. And when she was just thinking to herself, you know, you're trying to find more of an explanation for what Richard was up to. It's simple, he just wanted to see you again. It's not grounded in anything beyond that, just you had a bond and he was attached to it and he was attached to you, right? Something which, like many of the truisms or the aphorisms of JRPGs, things like the power of friendship, they might seem so simple as to be banal in a different context, but situated in the storytelling and the vast network of relationships and trauma and emotions as you get in a JRPG, I think the simple truths are framed in such a way that they become transcendent and beautiful and can really inform how we think about ourselves in the world. Yeah, well, it definitely gives us more to think about in terms of the way in which it it structures its particular shape of accessibility and how it wants people to arrive at certain things, Grail. All the better for our purposes to be playing it with a guide and some background knowledge, though. Make sure we actually get access to all those little things.
This won't take long. Creature, we won't fail.
Stay sharp.
I think that's all of them.
Yeah, so while we're making our way to the next area, as I warned everyone, the question that you posed, Pottery, was such a good one. I think I'm really going to be thinking about it for like quite a while to come, but I'm clearly still thinking about it, that title question. And so I wonder, it came to mind because Pascal just got a new title. As you all are playing through Tales games, if you're watching and you're familiar with these games, what kind of principles do you use to inform your own decision making in terms of which titles you apply to characters? Like, I know in some games there are going to be gameplay advantages or things like that. Do you mostly do it in terms of informing their gameplay abilities? Do you find yourself attached to certain titles as mementos of particular quests they went through or descriptions of them that make a lot of sense to you, so you choose one and let it stay with the character for a long period of time in the game? What are the different ways in which you think about it? I feel like for me, I'm the kind of guy where, as we're doing now, if it's a title that has certain skills or abilities attached to it, sure, I'll try to work through them all and give the character all of the skills. But more often than not, I usually won't mess that much with titles for story-related reasons until there's like a really touching title that sheds light on a character in a certain way. And I would almost say, I don't know if this is part of it, but for me, I think I'm also informed by titles that I had to go out of my way to get, or maybe I discovered by serendipity. Like if I stumble into a side quest that requires a decent amount of effort and has a lot of like character-oriented payoff for a particular character, and then that also terminates in a title that describes them in a certain insightful or thoughtful way, that's the kind of title that really stands out and shines for me personally, and that I'll be excited to attach to the character and use to kind of both guide them and also inform the context through which I think about them across the rest of my playthrough.
I don't anticipate a challenge. I just invented a new tactic.
Oh?
First, I toss out a peach gel, and while the enemy is distracted,
Then?
I eat an apple gel.
I suggest you reverse that.
Got it. Love both of those answers, Grail and Pottery. Thank you. Yeah, so we have a few different, what strikes me as pretty intuitive ways of going about it. First and foremost, gameplay, if they're gating certain abilities or if they inform different attribute increases in certain ways, like you get in a game like Symphonia or Graces. And then, of course, costumes are also tied to titles, which interesting too. I mean, while we're thinking about different dimensions of describing or dressing the character under interpretations, right? Interesting that costumes are oftentimes in many of these games tied to titles, but also not quite the same thing as a title per se in terms of how it is they interpret these characters. So they're probably interesting interactions between those two ways of treating or understanding a character that we could work through as well. And then beyond that, the idea of titles that feel right or make sense in terms of the character's identity or how it is we want to think about them. Yeah, story titles, I'm glad that you called that out too, Pottery, because I feel like, I don't know if this is something that is felt among other members of the community or if it's more of a me thing, but I feel like since so many titles are optional and require effort, there can almost be an instinct to downgrade the value of default story titles in one's mind, because it's the titles that are going to unlock anyway, and it's scripted, and it's,
Can I see what Hubert gave
right
you?
in the main line of progress. But so often, like for me as well, those are titles that are pretty poetic, offer interesting little crystallizations of the character's development up to that point in the story. I still think back, even because Rapide remains fresh in my mind from that Vesperia study I did, Sinful Sidekick, right? If you know Rapide and you know Tales of Vesperia, I don't even have to give you more context. I say Sinful Sidekick, and I'll bet Pottery, that calls to mind plenty of vivid moments in Vesperia, connections between Rapide and Yuri, this whole network of relationships through a simple smack dab in the middle of the road story title for Rapide.
Must be nice to get a charm from your little bro.
That's funny. When Asbel first entered the academy, he talked about his brother all the time.
Captain, come on. We don't need to bring all that up now.
I want to hear it.
Me too.
Asbel's brother had been sent to Strata, and he worried about him constantly. Was he lonely? Was he being bullied? His brother was a quiet sort, and Asbel worried others would mistake that for weakness. You even sent him a letter, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but I never got a reply.
I'm sure he knew you were thinking of him.
I hope so.
Here's the charm back. It's a special gift from Hubert. I'm sure it will protect you.
Thanks, brother. Okay, we're almost to the port. Let's hurry.
So many letters in this game. I love letter-based storytelling. This would probably be very hard to make work all the way through this kind of game, but since we started this stream diving back into the synopsis, I'm tickled at the idea of what it would look like if they tried to do a full synopsis of this game in letters. Just not that it had to all be from the same person or the same correspondence, but just that kind of written at a distance communication from one character in the world to another, synopsizing events as they went. I feel like that would be in keeping with a lot of the themes that we've been considering in Graces so far.
So guys, what's Strata like?
I heard it was covered in sand, but... Asbel, what are you doing?
Nothing.
You seem awfully nervous.
Ooh, someone's freaking out about meeting a new family.
No, it's
Her
not
line
like
readings
that.
are all perfect.
I don't want to say anything rude. Captain.
I don't anticipate a challenge. Yeah, I think that's all of them. I don't anticipate a challenge. It was your own vanity that bested you. Or not.
It looks like Stratan soldiers are guarding the port.
We can take that boat to Strata.
It'll be a while before we reach Strata. We probably ought to eat something to tide us over.
Good idea. I bet the cafeteria on board will be expensive.
Cheria.
You should eat something too, Sophie, because if you decide you're hungry later, it'll be too late once we're on board.
Okay, I understand.
You too, Pascal.
Yeah, whatevs. I'm not hungry.
That doesn't matter. Eat something.
They aren't even selling anything good around here.
What's wrong with grilled chicken?
Well, you know, I'm not into the greasy stuff. You like grilled chicken, Cheria?
Of course. It's like they say. Real women eat chicken.
Ah, yes, that very
Only
common
you say
saying.
that.
Real women eat chicken. Get that on a t-shirt. Take us to Oray.
Oh, Cheria. I picked this up earlier.
Oh, I thought I lost this. Thank you.
Is it the same Sopharia I gave you?
Huh? Well, yeah, it is. Is that okay? The times we spent together are some of my favorite memories. And after everyone left and I was alone, I used those memories to keep going.
More on the value of memory, picking up on what Sophie was talking about at the start of the stream.
I honestly never thought we'd be together again. I mean all of us. Sophie too. Not just you and me.
I don't love you.
I'm happy we're all together again, too.
I don't think you understand anything.
Bye, Pottery. Enjoy dinner. I hope it's tasty. Grilled chicken or otherwise. I don't care what you say. Something is wrong with this boy.
Your Majesty, you should rest. I must insist that you return to your room at once.
I'm fine. There is no need.
But sire, you are still recovering from the grievous wounds you received.
I am not a normal human, Dallin.
Ooh. What?
Does that mean?
That's what I was going to say.
I am the king of Windor. Do not think to equate me with mere commoners. The king must be strong, and I must become
Ugh.
stronger. And I know just what to do. There is great power here in Windor.
Oh, that face.
And not just here.
What a responsible and thoughtful
This
ruler.
entire world is filled with incredible power.
Jesus.
So this is Strata's port, huh? Wonder how long it'll take to reach Uliverte.
Even that scene with Richard is a pretty interesting connection between like the way in which the world is dealing with the idea of royalty and right to rule versus what he's dealing with more personally with whatever's going on with him and the force inside him, because he says, you know, I'm not a mere human, and we're like, what the hell are you talking about? What else would you be? And it clearly seems like there's some other force inside him. But also the idea that I'm not a human because there's the mere commoner, and then there's the sovereign, right? The ruler of the kingdom, who is in many ways elevated to like a different conceptual plane than people, because the sovereign is this governing entity that persists across, you know, various members of an entire lineage, right? So this idea that, you know, even if Richard weren't being like literally messed with according with whatever force is occupying him, there would still be a certain sense in his role that he's kind of occupying a larger than life concept that elevates him to something more than human. Is an interesting piece of overlap, I think, between the different aspects of his life and situation, so to speak.
Pardon me, but are you heading to the capital? Unfortunately, the road is currently blocked by the Rockagong.
The Rockagong emerges!
The Rockagong?
It's a large monster with a rock-like appearance. Still, this is odd. I'd heard that the Rockagong was an intelligent and docile creature that never troubled humans.
We're here, boys. We made it.
Normally that's true, but right now it's rampaging on the high road between Sable Isole and the capital. It's a dangerous situation, so the military has closed the high road to all through traffic.
Thank you for informing us.
I'm impressed you know so much about the local wildlife, Captain.
I spent time here before joining the Knights. The Rockagong is beloved among the citizens of Strata.
So, what's the plan, Asbel?
Hard to say without knowing more about the situation. For now, let's head for the town of Sable Isole.
The Sandstone Basin. There's always a desert. Strata's council is led by a democratically elected president. Strata is a republic, which means folks like us get a say in deciding who rules over the nation. Wow, so already, and especially on the heels of that scene and what we were just talking about, night and day in terms of the governing body presiding over Strata versus the monarch monstrosity in Windor. Waz, these poor-looking kids is bullying me. How could they bully someone as cute as a Turtles? This is a black day for societies. Please, you gotta help me. I'll give you the reward and everything. Thanks, pal. You're pretty swells, what for a human. And 'cause I'm so thankful, I'll tell you a secret. It ain't every day you gets prime infos like this. Ah, coordinates. All right. We didn't really have to do anything to intercede and help the tot. I'm always the last to know anything. Like right now, Sable Isole is all up in arms, but damn if I know why. Meow. The funny-looking cat seems to want fish. Let's give it salmon. Is clam fish? Challenge. Thank you. That's right. Legally, it has to be. They're not allowed to put it on that menu unless it's a fish. We solved it. That's the deep lore of Tales of Graces. Clams are fish in this world. Suzu! I'm not going to cry. But you say that she's not going to cry, and that's going to make me cry. Suzu, my friend. The girl who would be chief. Welcomes! Book of Swiftness. Boosts movement speed on the field. I'm in. Say less. All right. On we go. Ooh, amaryllis seeds. New seeds for Sophie. Just makes me want to go back to Lant. The name of the merchant tribe. What is this about? I think it's about a passcode that is Toidles. File that away if we see a chest lurking about here.
Asbel, I've been wondering, when did His Majesty's behavior begin to change?
When we first saw him again, he seemed like the same Richard we knew before. But soon after that, his personality...
It all changed when he was murdered for the first time, Malik.
I wonder what happened to him.
The last time we saw him, back at Lant, I could barely recognize him.
It's possible he may never return to the man he used to be.
That's not true.
Cheria?
Richard will come back.
Everything will be the same.
And the same goes for Hubert. I just know
I was getting ready to make the joke, and she literally said the thing sincerely. Oh, Cheria. Also, just how perfect, and it's such a testament to the symbolic literacy of this game that she's so insistent on wanting to try to reenact and recapture the past. And what else did she do? She pressed the flower, symbolizing that past, trying very directly to prolong the existence and present moment of that past as a memento and keepsake and something objective that you can hold on to. Any special requests? Book of Rare Creatures. I asked a researcher in the Craglands to give me his Book of Rare Creatures, but he turned me down cold. Someone convince him. But doctors, I am's the passcodes. Yeah, I think as we've been talking about Grail, they're all definitely concerned with the past and trying to work through it, but her way of doing that does seem to be distinctively concerned with recreating and preserving it, whereas the others have different approaches. A spellbook that restores your HP as you travel. Bit here, bit there, and that's all gone. I love it. The Stone of Truth. And Truth Salt. A strange type of salt that tastes sweet when licked by liars. Ooh, give me a skit. That's very cool.
Check this out. It says that if a liar licks the salt, it'll taste totally sweet. There aren't any liars in our group, Pascal.
Well, we can try it out. Everyone give it a lick.
I can't wait to see who's a big fat liar.
I'm up.
Very well.
If I must. No. Huh? Whoa, so salty and gross. What about you, Asbel?
Oh, yeah, salty. I had too much.
Blech. Everyone could taste it?
It's salty, isn't it, Cheria?
Wow, it is so salty. Cheria, you're acting a little odd. Huh? What? No, I'm not. I'm fine. Let's talk about Captain Malik instead. Are you okay? You need to watch your blood pressure.
Yeah, old man. Well, it'll be fun to keep that skit in mind as we go on through the game. I mean, right now, especially in the context of the few conversations Asbel and Cheria have just had and what we were saying about her, I feel like the most straightforward implications is that she's the liar because she's not being honest or straightforward about her feelings for Asbel, but I want it to be richer than that. This is Ulray, port town on the edge of the continent. Try not to get lost in the desert. Just keep heading west and you'll hit Uluberte soon enough. Are you an honest person or a liar? Our town's famous for something that can tell. Mariner's Musk. Might as well get some of this stuff. I was wondering that too, yeah. It's almost like, I mean, you could see it being something of the sort you would hear about in like an old world myth that like, you know, telling lies changes the nature of your tongue as it kind of, you know, rolls off the tongue. So it sort of corrupts your taste buds or your ability to like taste certain things, and it might be receptive to something like that, but yeah, it would be interesting to think about how it works in this world. We don't know a lot about Elith dynamics yet, really, because I would have to imagine, like, if they were going to offer an actual explanation of that, it would probably bottom out there, because that's where all of the like energetic interactions of the world as we understand them now bottom out. But I don't think we really have enough background in the science and nature of Elith to make any inferences about that yet. Oh, yeah, might as well do that while we're here too. Good. Good. I should have gone here before we dualized the equipment, but that's alright. I think we can afford one more right now. Oh, we also got cologne for Malik, which I love that that's his unique equipment item, cologne. You know why Liberte is so fancy despite being in the middle of a desert? Because of the Valkanus Krios. Well, and the president lives there. He's just the best. Hello. Hello, hello. All right, onward to the desert. Hope we don't run into any rockagongs. What is a rockagong? Speaking
the
of...
military is closing roads off because of one rockagong monster. I don't know anything about it, but is it really that dangerous?
It's no mere monster. It wouldn't be a fair fight for us humans.
Do you have any idea why, Captain Malik?
It's just something I've heard. I suspect we'll understand as soon as we lay eyes on it.
I can't wait. You're still a ways from Sable Izole. Make sure you're ready for any monsters along the way. Oh, I like this desert battle track too. If I decide to go right, then don't. Okay. But see, you say that, and then I want to go right all the more. Is it reverse psychology? What's your game, Grail?
It's important to pay your respects.
Okay.
Not like that.
This?
No, never mind.
I also really liked, this is such a small quality of life thing, but since we've been talking about the post-battle conversations, I noticed this earlier on the stream tonight. The fact that since, you know, if you're grinding through battles, it might be easy to just automatically skip over the post-battle scene, even if it's great because you've seen it a million times. So someone like me, I could easily see just accidentally skipping over a new one, but they don't let you do that. The first time you see one, even if you press the X button to advance it, it just plays through the entire conversation first. So a nice safeguard for people like myself to make sure they don't accidentally deny themselves something. I do not want to fight level 80 dudes. Good looking out, good looking out. That would be the place where I would probably stubbornly camp and try to grind on dudes that are way too high leveled for me to reasonably do that if we weren't in the middle of a stream. But no, we have other priorities right now. So glad I took the time to heal Malik. That was rose tier failure. Jesus.
I wish you hadn't seen me like that.
Me too, Malik. Me too.
Let's keep moving.
Yeah, I believe that. I feel like they do a good job of scaling to keep the difficulty really engaging and challenging. I was actually even just thinking that in the middle of that fight. Like, that seems not like a steep jump, but like it's definitely remaining challenging as we're progressing and developing more abilities for the characters and getting more facility with the system overall. The burn ailment increases the length of time you're staggered when you take damage, and it prevents your HP from recovering. It's a particularly nasty condition, so consider preventing it with a burn charm. Weak against freeze. Alright, that makes a lot of sense. I like ones with a straightforward elemental logic. Anonymous seed. A seed that no one will tell you the name of. Its very existence is wrapped in mystery. That's one of those interesting item descriptions, since that's also been a sub-theme in our playthrough of Grace's. The idea that, like, where is this explanation coming from when they discover the seed? Like, are we to suppose perhaps that Sophie, like, found it since she's the one interested in seeds and asks around at the party and, like, no one's willing to tell her, so she just denotes it to be an anonymous seed? I think that's kind of fun. Against freeze, assault arts, reptile, dragon, and aerial. I want to try to get back in the habit of that because I tried and then I let it go. Aerial, alright.
Let's keep moving.
I know, but this is what I'm trying to do. I need to gradually work my way up to it. So I was like trying to focus on his assault arts and seeing which ones of those are coded to which enemy types that time, and then I was going to go to the circle ones next time. There's a little bit of a method to my madness. Only so many of those things I can hold in my head at once, you know? Nothing but sand for miles around. I don't like it. It's rough and it gets everywhere. Ha! Alright, I lied. I guess there are 2 dad jokes this stream. I'm already starting to miss the babbling of Hubert's fountains. Ah! Fountains becoming a motif as we go on here. The scholars in Sable Isole are all in a panic right now. Fretting about the Rockagong, I'm sure. What else can you expect from a bunch of spineless eggheads? Wow. Tell me how you really feel, soldier. Stratton cacti. A cactus native to the deserts of Strata. Inside, it's full of water.
What's wrong? Why are you sighing like that?
My throat is so dry. I'm gonna keel over from this crazy heat. Aren't you all worried and stuff, Captain?
Perhaps we should seek aid from this cactus.
Cactus?
The ability to store water has made the Strata cactus a vital resource for the people here. You just cut into it, like this, and there you go. Clean, fresh water.
You're amazing, Captain.
Want some?
Oh, please. I'm so thirsty. I owe you, Captain.
How was it? Tasty?
Warm and gross.
It tastes green.
Yeah.
He tried. So Malik is group dad and Cheria is group mom. Seems to be what's coming into focus. You again? Listen, I've told you 1,000 times I'm not interested. Again? Actually, I don't think we've met before. You government types are all the same. You fake like you're friendly, but really all you want is my book of rare creatures. Why is the government interested in a book? Ah! Only because it contains very detailed information on every creature in the world. For serious? So what kind of creatures are featured in it? Oh, I see how it is. So you're actually interested in the fruits of my research, are you? You bet. Are all researchers this weird? This book covers more than just Stratus creatures, you know. I've traveled the world. For instance, rare creature number 11, the legendary bush baby. Ha! Easter eggs, we've got him. A creature that resides deep within the forest. Going all the way back to Fantasia. That's an awesome name. I bet it would be great for a statue. Rare creature number 51, codename Quickie. Haha. They know I just played Eternia. It's sometimes been known to do people's work for them. They're both legendary. Bush baby, Quickie. Give me Repeat. Tell me about Repeat. That would be a huge help when you're busy chanting an art. Oh boy, girl, you don't know the half of it. Let me tell you. Oh, when I got the technical ring, my heart sang. You seem familiar with these creatures already. How did he know? Can he hear us on the stream? Huh? No, not me. I'm just shouting out whatever comes into my head. Well, I guess that's okay. But anyway, I've saved the best for last. Give it to me. Attend me and be amazed. Rare creature number 99. Name unknown. This is a new, mysterious creature that was just discovered in Windor. What kind of creature is it? They say it's a bipedal, human-like creature that was seen swimming from one end of Lake Grail to the other. That's a long way to swim, but I don't know. It doesn't sound like an especially rare creature. How about you, little lady? Any brilliant comments you'd like to share? No, not so much. I mean, it was just swimming, yeah? Oh, that's where you're wrong. Wrong. For you see, this creature has the ability to vanish at will. Really? The report says it was seen roaming through thick grass one moment, and then poof, it was gone. And all it left behind was a small, strange object resembling an altar. It's my hypothesis that this creature is nothing less than a member of the legendary Amartians. The Amartians? Indeed, the one and only. Actually, that kind of sounds like me. Ridiculous. Absurd. Utterly preposterous on every conceivable level. But... Pascal, are you saying you swam across Lake Grail? Sure did. I was all splash, splash, splash before heading into the underground ruins. She was the third legendary creature all along. In fact, when I first met you and Sophie, I had just come out the other side. And then I touched her. Ah! Oh, and that disappearing thing is just what happens when you use that device to enter the ruins. Oh yeah, that's right. By all that's holy, the real thing is right in front of me, and here I stand running my mouth like an idiot. That's the part you're upset about? Here, take the book. I don't deserve to have it. Really? Wow, thanks. Hey, did you hear? A mysterious creature is reportedly untying turtles' transport loads all by itself. Oh, this is terrible. Why, the beast could single-handedly derail the entire turtles' transport industry. We're going to investigate at once, but we need your keen mind and cat-like reflexes. I'm on my way. Are they sure it's not just someone playing pranks? Who knows, my friend? Who knows? Amazing. So, and especially coming off of Tales of Berseria, my Tales-addled brain is just thinking, well, does that mean that we know it now to be the case because there's reports of it in the world that there are bush babies and Quickie? Did we ever learn the name of Quickie's species? I don't think we did. I don't think Merity says that in Eternia. Just wandering around this world, it makes me want to look. Quickie is Quickie. Rose is Rose. Bush baby is statue. Oh, it gets stranger? I'm excited. I liked the way it started off with such subtlety with the ice pops in the winter capital. I will say I don't oftentimes feel delighted at the experience of in-grouping, but as I get more fully and presently submerged in the Tales series, it is pretty charming and delightful to have all of those references right on hand to really appreciate everything the game is calling out. Yeah, that's where I was headed right now, Grail. Might as well. Is it the inn, right? Which was up, I think? Yeah, there we go. Yay, now Dad can run around the world without a care. Did I mention he's an assassin? That's why he travels so much. Oh, Malik learned Corruption Claw. Awesome. I asked a researcher... yeah, we read this already. Wait, this is the Book of Rare Creatures? I don't know. Are you sure this is legit? Ah, well, that's close enough. No, I have been too lazy to fire it up again, but I wanted to go back to Tales of Berseria and revisit the description for Quickie Island now that I have the context to actually understand that allusion. What a good game. I don't remember whether I mentioned this, but I'm actually thinking it's gonna be distinctly appropriate to use as a little case study in the academic article that I'm working on right now, which is sometimes kismet. You know, you play the right thing at the right time and it just gives you a new way of thinking about something that you're trying to work through. The Tales games are perfect for that exact kind of experience. Alright, so it's weak against Beast, Impact, and Freeze, and very weak to Burst Arts. Oh, Malik has more Burst Arts now too, so we should do those. Cold Front is Freeze. Alright, well, especially for this desert area. Let's put that there so Aaron doesn't forget. That's the only one we have on our palette that this particular enemy is weak to, but let's go ahead and add Cluster Raid, Death Knight, and his Assault Arts are... Okay, Impact is 3 in the Regular direction. Doesn't have anything for beast. All right. I'm slowly learning.
You need to study up on the basics.
That's interesting, Grail. Yeah, you know, I was that's a great point about the music, because you're right. I mean, it's so unusual in many of the other games that it's changed in the way that we've experienced coming to this new continent. But I was thinking that getting back into Graces, because I found myself thinking, man, I don't have a firm sense of where we are in terms of the overall act structure, and I also don't have a vivid memory of that from when I was a kid, which makes me wonder, like, what's even the right way to think about the structure of the game? Because we spoke about this back when I first, introduced talking in the language of acts to the stream. Like, a 3-act structure is a very useful model for thinking about a lot of stories, and it's very useful for thinking about other Tales games, but there's no reason to suppose that it's going to be like the correct model that gets at the heart of every story, or even every Tales story. And especially with a game like this that has the distinctive feature of that childhood arc, which is maybe not quite an act, but certainly like an important and self-contained unit of the story. Maybe there's a certain sense in which the game is trying to tell us there's a different segmentation or way of engaging with its different parts and arcs than what we might expect from a 3-act structure. That wouldn't surprise me, because I have that same experience from when I first played it. But yeah, it does definitely feel like however many acts we want to think about the game is schematized according to, there's a key moment of climax that happens with what we went through with the Richard fight, definitely. Carol's Carta. People call me Blue Lightning. My lad. Sing us a song. You're the caroler. Okay, so I think Malik actually did have a plant once, so I wanted to see if we could actually hit all of the parts of this ridiculous combo. Okay, it's up and down. Got it.
This is what happens when you misjudge your foe.
Oh, I think I want to change the title settings on Malik. It's nice that it shows you the progress of the titles. It makes it easier to keep track of how they're going, and also to tell when you have them set in a different way than what you want. There we go. Yeah, well, as I've said for the other games, it's definitely one where the middle area of the story is something that is much less vivid in my memory than the beginning and the end, so it'll be interesting, I think, to keep that question in mind of how the different arcs are progressing as we go on. It would make sense to me, just based on what we've seen so far, if we think about everything up to and through the Richard fight as the first act, because you can think of it as kind of like 2 epicycles almost, where everything happens in childhood with the gang, leading to the events with Richard in the catacombs, and then that same kind of arc is kind of recapitulated in a new context in the adult arc. So it's sort of like a repetition and reenactment of that which has come before, which is a satisfying and harmonious structure for a single act, and kind of ends you where you began before moving on to other considerations where we are now.
Keep it cool. Oh, I see some barrels. Let's begin. Calamity Rondo.
Pascal, what's an airhead? Someone who's so smart they can control air with their mind.
I'm excited too. I can't wait.
Amazing.
I keep forgetting there's a whole extra act waiting for me at the end of this. Maybe I'll figure out how to time it so that I'm playing through that thing that Little Aaron neglected to experience at the same time that I'm playing through the character quests at the end of Legendia, like the entire second half of Legendia that Little Aaron also couldn't bring himself to do. Nice to give content a second chance. Pottery! Welcome back. Without spoilers, though. Without spoilers. Yeah. No, we were just talking about how there are a few interesting senses in which, at a minimum, the most logical way to partition its various arcs seems less obvious than one might think is the case in some of the other Tales games. So I think it'll be an interesting thing for us to keep our eyes on structurally as we go forward here. I think I just fucking did that. Soaring Crystal, alright. Love me a new crystal.
Let's do this! I'll run you through.
Yeah, I think that's where our intuition ended up as well for the moment, Potter. I was saying there's a nice bit of parallelism in the structure between kind of the child arc and the way that progresses, and then everything up to the Richard encounter and the aftermath of that in Lant when Sophie regains her memories. Kind of ending where you ended the child arc, albeit arriving at it in a very different context and with different sorts of growth behind you. No, certainly not locked into any decision yet, but it's a good thing to keep in mind. Yeah.
Stand guard. Keep it cool. Cloak of ice. Flesh.
Jesus. These fellas are strong.
You were great, Pascal. Oh, you finally realized my greatness? Let's celebrate with a high five! Huh?
Yeah, that strikes me just based on where we are now as a challenging way to break it down. Especially when you have the model in the series of how to break down stories much more directly according to different moments in time, like with the time travel that you get in Fantasia. Like, they have a language for how to do that. This does not seem quite like that to me so far.
Okay, I'll keep on getting stronger.
Let's get this underway.
I was gonna say, yeah, I feel like I couldn't name the enemy from Vesperia, but it definitely still seems to be at least in that same like design language to me in my head. But maybe I'm conflating it with Symphonia. I feel like there are similar flying enemies in Symphonia.
It will take more than that to stand in our way.
Or at this point, honestly, maybe I'm just thinking of Arise because I remember fighting many flyers of that kind in the last week we spent together.
Now you've seen our true strength.
Huh? I was barely even trying.
Really, Asbel? That was your true strength?
Asbel, you didn't tell me that you'd become a weenie in the time since you left the Knights. May I take your hat, sir? May I take your hat, sir? Titanium anklet. You could probably kick someone 300 yards with it. I'm in. That's for... who gets anklets? Sophie.
Game on!
Oasis of perils, over!
I feel as though a lot depends on context, Grail. I would say at first pass, my intuition is I know a lot of people can be very bothered by it. I don't feel very bothered when it's just a bunch of grunt enemy designs, like when we're traveling through the field here and I recognize them from other games, because I think just in terms of experiencing like the games as members of a series, it kind of gives me more continuity and familiarity between them. Like, oh, okay. It's the same thing as kind of when like the same summon spirits show up, right? Like, oh, Undini's here. Okay, I have a frame of reference for that. I understand it. And I can see the distinct way in which this particular game breathes life into that familiar concept or familiar model. And it's also plausible to me that, you know, you think about just generic flyers or ground enemies, or there are a lot of different types that you might suppose would develop in various permutations of the universe. And so I think my brain is happy to just buy it as plausible that similar enemies would be in different worlds. When you start getting to things like unique enemies seeming very similar between worlds, or like noteworthy bosses, or things that have like a much more specific relationship with the world in which you're involved, that's when I kind of get off the boat, and I feel like it's harder to buy into the idea that unless there's like a robust explanation for how that particular kind of thing came to be in that particular world, again, not like with enemies, but like you get with the spirits and the way they manifest in different games, then it feels like there's some kind of just tension and imaginative resistance that I experience relative to what the story is representing. Yeah, I would also not say it's like a normatively bad thing for games to reuse content. But I'm also, you know, running a video game publication that I founded on the back of analyzing Majora's Mask, so it would be a very, very hypocritical thing of me to decry the reuse of content. I think I've mentioned this before when this topic has come up, but one way that I like to kind of loosen my own perspective on that is we act like the reuse of digital assets is something that is a distinctive thing in video games. In some ways it is. I mean, certainly there are design and production constraints that make it uniquely efficient to reuse assets that you already have lying around. But I also think, you know, if you expand to thinking about just like other media, whether that's film or novel or just stories in terms of various like tropes or character relationships. Think about even, what we were talking about in terms of like the evil uncle trope that we saw earlier in this story, right? Like there are a lot of conceptual assets that are reused and reimagined and put into different permutations in different works of art over various courses of time and in various different contexts, because like much of the creative process is reproductive. So many of the coolest moments that I've had in appreciating art and video games is not in seeing something that strikes me as genuinely novel, but rather something that creates like a new context or relationship according to which I can see something that was familiar in a way that is now unfamiliar. A big part of the whole intertextual value that I keep coming back to with what we're doing in Tales of Praxis. That's right, but yours is the only one, Grail. Every other story is just a rehash. You're the one who gets to be unique. There is more than one of everything except you, to paraphrase Fringe. The only good thing that J.J. Abrams has ever done. City of Scholars! I love me a good City of Scholars in a Tales game. Speaking of reused assets.
Let's ask around. The town people should know something.
That sounds like a good idea.
To wit, this track almost strikes me as a remix of the theme to Hollow Bastion in Kingdom Hearts, which is another song I love, so now you just have two things to love. Do we get to play cards right away? Are you making a reference that I'm missing? I'm embarrassed. I have no idea what you meant by that, Pottery. Do you know what a man truly needs in his life? Yes, exactly. Nice hot spices. Everyone needs spice in their life, and I've got a little something to help you along. Fiery, tongue-warming spices. That's what a man needs. A spice set. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, is that what the Carta cards that we've been picking up go to? That's awesome. I thought they were just little collectibles. Well, I wouldn't mind trying that out, of all the mini games. Oh, here we go. Do you know about Magic Carta? Asked and answered. There are a series of cards that contain heroes from different worlds. Come see me when you have at least 10 and we can play a game. If you look around, you could probably find a few right here. Do we have 10 already? No, I guess we don't have 10 already. I feel like we've been pretty diligently picking up all the ones we found, so hopefully picking up the ones in town will put us over the edge. Have you ever seen the Rokugan? He strikes such a powerful presence. I wish I had a chance to dissect him. You monster. Well, now it's proven, not even the best technology in the world can defeat monsters of legend. Card game and a JRPG? I believe it. I think the good thing is you at least both know me now well enough not to judge me on the merits of my ability to complete mini games, because I will happily stand up and say Aaron doesn't like mini games and he's not good at them. Now, do I not like them because I'm not good at them, or am I not good at them because I don't like them? That's another story. I'm good at asking and answering those kinds of questions. That's one thing that I can flex my skill in. But no, not minigames. That cheating seems to be a bit of a theme that we're uncovering between first the Hubert duel and now Carta. Yeah, maybe that's part of it. Minigames can end up being so arcadey and require a distinct skill set in many cases from the skill set that is demanded of the game that wraps around it. That it's not always going to be the case that you have facility with the minigames if you're playing in a genre of wrapping game that you're familiar with, and so that can be a tension if you're trying to navigate it, and you're someone like me who plays a lot of JRPGs but doesn't play a lot of, I don't know, snowboarding mini games. I know we just kitted everyone out. I think we're okay. Thanks much, pal. Ooh, is that an Eleth mixer? You must be with the military. You can gauge the worth of a soldier by the state of his Eleth mixer. I'm sure you've earned the freshman mixer title by now, right? I haven't been paying attention. I hope so. I do remember, and this is a nice town for just experiencing this and enjoying it right here. One of the few memories I have of just my experience of towns in this game is I remember appreciating distinct among the Tales series the layout in terms of how many towns felt multi-layered, like even just looking at one bridge over the other here. I remember them as having a certain kind of multi-dimensionality that JRPG towns very frequently will not. So I'm interested to see whether that's borne out in our experience of the game now, or if it's something that I've blown up as larger than life in my memory over the years. Oh, we don't have the clue for this yet. Yep, that sounds like a recipe to make me cringe in frustration, Grail, so I feel you. Oh, it's a front. Interesting.
I don't want the Rokugan to die.
We're not here to kill it. We just came to investigate.
Yeah, Vesperia is great for that too. That might be part of what ended up getting me confused about some of the elements of Rita and Pascal, as I've talked about before, because I think, for instance, a city like Aspio has a lot in common with the attributes I was just describing with reference to Graces.
Then why is the military deployed on the high road, huh? Answer us that!
We did it so we could initiate rescue operations, in case the creature starts hurting citizens. Oh, someone get me out of here.
Wow, man! The Rokugan's got its own fan club and everything.
That's no surprise. It's a gentle beast that never caused problems for anyone.
Those calling to save the Rokugan are growing by the day. However, there are many who need to use the road, and therefore wish the creature dispatched by any means necessary. The will of the people is very divided. If nothing is done, the situation will only grow worse.
I wonder if that's the same voice actor as Alexei. I hear him in my head, but he might just have that tenor to his... Oh, okay, it's not just me. Thank God. I thought I was losing my mind. Then I looked down in the chat, and either we're all losing our minds or we're just good at Tails' voices. Or two things can be true, I guess.
That's unfortunate. I don't see this being resolved anytime soon.
Anyway, I'm going to go set up a Blastia at the edge of town because of no reason. Goodbye.
Captain, in a worst-case scenario, how dangerous could the Rokugan be?
I've heard it's quite large, but aside from that, I don't know. I've never seen it myself.
We should just hit the high road and see what happens. Then if it attacks or whatever, we can just scream and run away.
It's the same actor. I don't know if it's the same character.
I guess that's a plan.
Well, we certainly won't reach the capital by standing around here. Let's go.
But what's his job? Swords! I don't want to hear anything else about the swords. Meow? Brrr. The sleepy cat seems to want fish. Okay, explore the outside and then go into the tower. I can do that. I can do that for you.
No. Sophie, please. You can't be so finicky all the time.
What's wrong? Sophie?
Sophie won't eat anything. She's so picky.
It's fine. She doesn't have to eat anything she doesn't want to. Right, Sophie?
Yeah, you coddle her too much, Asbel. She's not a child, you know. What am I gonna do with you two? So, what do you want for dinner anyway?
It's like they're playing
Curry
house.
sounds good.
I suppose you want it mild.
Yeah.
You're both such children.
Aw, hey, come on.
Daunting book. A page torn out of a book. It's written in some language you can't understand at all. I want to say the ancient tongue? Yeah, that's right. If they did the fusion dance, they'd have one regular person with normal tastes.
The research at Sable Izole is at the forefront of scientific inquiry in Strata.
What kind?
Creus Arts. As the world leader in the field, much of their gold is invested towards it.
I wonder if this giant monument has something to do with their research.
Monument? I don't know. This just looks like some kind of giant book, don't you think?
Now that you mention it, yeah, this does look like a book. Can we read it?
Open it up, Asbel, come on!
Okay.
Asbel broke it.
A pity.
Oh.
You monster. Do you know about Magic Carta? All the young, hip kids are playing it these days. I'll give you some cards to get started. Now go out and play so you can be a swank hipster like me. I want to be a swank hipster. Yuri! He intends to. My man. And Rita! You thought you could win. I'm very sensitive to trends. I'm like a trend magnet. You are already complete. How could the military think of killing such a rare and precious creature? Did I already try to open this? I imagine I did, but what's inside? Oh, this is the locked one, that's right. Let's see if we can try out this card game. I was thinking, I love, and this might be worth writing like a lighter personal article about at some point. The theme and motif of scientific inquiry in these games, and I think JRPGs in general are so great for that, but the Tales games especially, not only that they have really interesting magical structures to their world and history, but that they have entire communities that are concerned with investigating and understand that, and therefore allow you as the player to explore and understand how it is that the world works. I think actually that may not be inconsequential to the effect these games had in getting me into the world of philosophy as much as anything, because one of the interesting things about these fictional worlds is the scientific investigation bottoms out in metaphysical and spiritual considerations and the sorts of things that are different than what you get from the empirical and scientific method in our world, but are very similar to the kinds of things that you arrive at in terms of analytical and synthetic conclusions in the world of philosophy. Do you know about... Do we still not have 10 cards? I really thought we had 10 cards. I'm sorry. Alright, well, we'll keep collecting them. Yeah, we're short. We only have 6. Need 4 more. If you bring me a potato, a carrot, and an onion, I'll put together a little veggie set for you. People say that the Rokugan is several centuries old. Yeah, even these little... Chester, my man! Christ, oh, no! Why you gotta use a quote like that? Hit me where it hurts, game. Jesus Christ. It is the town if you don't have enough. But it is the town of discovery, too. I was thinking in terms of the multidimensionality we were talking about, like even a little something like this, where there's a little kind of hidden away path of the kind that we saw in the Capitol, too. And it totally changes the, like the fixed perspective on the town when you discover it. I think that does a lot to just add to the overall experience of discovering and exploring the town. Quite nice. My wife passed away recently. Just great. Now what? I can't get near the Capitol. If it's a monster causing all this, why can't we just kill it already? Are there any new requests? Why not take it easy for a spell? Blue Creus? Oh, that's got to be another glyph. I'm tickled about that. We can't find the blue Creus we use in our experiments, but I'm sure it's somewhere in the research tower. Please help. Not that you have any agenda to push, right, Pottery? No, but I'm with you. I'm the king of that. I mean, you know, that's my whole bag. Challenging the idea that all of the kind of new design norms in the language of video game or any kind of art that's still innovating are intrinsically better than what's come before. But I think a lot of thoughtful people, especially on like the indie and smaller scale scene, are doing a lot of things in terms of going back to older design languages and even, you know, pixel art style things and stuff like that. So it's nice to know that there are people and creators out there who are mindful of the different aesthetic effects that you can bring about from those different modes of representation. Yes, very on brand. They know what they're about, and nothing will interfere with that. There are too many scholars in this place. They keep jumping on me with their ideas and theories. This might be part of what got me to elide the distinction between Rita and Tales of Graces also. Like, this is a very Aspio-esque library, if you're just remembering it years after having played it. Oh, sure, the folks here seem nice, but get them in a scholarly debate and the claws come out. Is this going to be the blue Creus? Hey, check out the wonky-looking Creus here. Looks pretty ordinary to me. Nope, I can tell. The eleth inside is confecting just a little bit. Confecting? Wait, but that never happens to Creus with eleth in them. What the? Whoa! Pascal? Like, what's going on and stuff? Oh, like multi-angle shots, like, used to be a big thing for, like, DVDs and such for a hot second. Yeah, that would be fun. That must be a thing in some games, right? Like, I can't think of an example of that off the top of my head, but I feel like that must have been done at some point. Ah, Undini! Pascal, what are... The contract has been fulfilled. I am Cyandini, not Undini, the beloved maiden of the water dragon. What's going on? The Creus has responded to your blood. My power is yours to use as you wish. Another summon. Go and train yourself well. I shall await the day when we can set foot upon this world together. It's gone. What's all the commotion? Something strange happened when she touched the blue Creus here. Strange? How? How do I put this? This crazy spirit woman thing just appeared out of nowhere. You're kidding. Did she happen to have long, flowing hair and skin like that of a pale blue sky? That's so specific. That was her. So the rumors were true. You don't mean... It's a popular story among the researchers. Sometimes people hear voices and feel eyes upon them when they're up late working. It might have something to do with this tower's peculiar origins. It is a good joke. I'm a fan of the way it happens. And it's such a like a tonally different way of acquiring the aid of spirits than you get in the other worlds. Like turning it into more of a joke than this reverential, quasi-religious experience. Maybe we don't need to hear about this right now. Actually, this is the perfect time. Please, continue. Well, apparently, a town once stood beneath the area where this tower was built. So there's a chance some of those townspeople might have been buried alive? There is a path down below that leads deeper into the tower, but it requires using a door that we cannot open. And if you pass through the door... Yeesh! Please, Captain, don't say anything more! On the subject of ghosts, I honestly cannot say, but we do know for true that a town once existed here. And if you saw what you claim, then perhaps it may have had some special connection to you? Oh, I want to learn more! I want to know! To us? Wow, I wonder what it could be. Why don't you go take a look, Cheria? Now cut that out! Oh, it's even more interesting than the Sylph one was! Oh, I'm hooked on this gradual optional exploration of the glyphs. What's the description of the art? Oh, did she not learn a new art? I thought she did. Am I crazy? Oh, she probably has to learn it through the title first, right? Water Summoner, yes. There we go. Sapphire Squad, that is a very cool name. A title awarded to one who is contracted with the Sapphire Maiden, Cyandini. Here we go. Awesome, alright. Go back out and pop a save and we can wrap things up for the evening. Alright, friends. Well, it was definitely a stream of remembering the ins and outs of this game, but like I said, maybe on accident, the most fitting game with which to do that, since so much of it is wrestling with and excavating and interpreting and coming to terms with memories of our own history. So, see, it's all on brand. It's all connected at the end of the day with this kind of investigation that we're doing. Yeah, well, and I think she was the first one to get the first Mystic Art, right? Because of the same thing, because we're doing these side quests. So it's got me hooked on the side quests and hooked on Pascal. So going to keep our eyes peeled for what comes next. It is so nice to be back in this and in what seems like another stage of the story, whatever act or arc it might end up counting as, and to watch these relationships at once return to where they were in the past, but also with new context that I'm sure will prompt them into a new kind of future pretty soon here. And don't forget, with all the foreshadowing we got this stream, we'll get to know a little bit more about Hubert's adoptive family, probably in the next stream, so buckle up for that. It'll be a nice way to, through the associates of someone, get to know more about who they are, and for Hubert, probably how he developed and the pressures he was under in the intervening 7 years to which we didn't have direct access. We'll be back on Friday. I can't wait to see where this goes next, but don't forget, tomorrow, especially for those of you who are here and have been enjoying the Beyond the Dawn adventures, we will hopefully be wrapping those up. I expect we'll be wrapping those up. We'll see. But one way or another, we'll be diving back into that tomorrow at 7 p.m. No, not 7 p.m., 6 p.m. Eastern. All these times are getting muddled in my mind. And we'll have another 5 hours dedicated to it if we can use them. If not, we'll wrap up early, and if there's more, we'll plan beyond that. But look forward to Beyond the Dawn tomorrow, the extended stream, and then we'll be back here 7 p.m. Eastern on Friday for a good Friday night stream to kick off and roll into the weekend with Tales of Graces. I hope you like Tales, because we got lots of Tales on offer. Ha! You thought intertext was just a fun academic word. This is the fucking work you have to put into it to get to that intertext. I'm here for it too, so I'm glad that you are, Grail. It is a ride, but it's a ride worth going on. It's why we critically study these games, and it's what grounds the value of the love that we have for them. Perhaps not unconditionally, but a robust and informed love. And isn't, in some ways, that all the better? All right, friends. Thank you. So great seeing you again. So nice to be back here. We'll be back in that other place tomorrow and then back here again. In the meanwhile, I hope you think well. I hope you game well. I hope you have a great evening wherever in the world you might find yourself. I'll see you again real soon. This has been Tales of Praxis. Cheers, friends.